Hello, my name is Cole Maida. I'm in Law 2150 at Appalachian State University. Today I'll be giving a presentation on Facebook's lawsuit issues since the beginning of the company. Today is December 2nd, 2014. So why should we care so much about Facebook? Well, every day, 350 million photos are uploaded, 4.5 million likes, 10 billion messages sent, 22 billion times a like and share button are viewed. There are 1.3 billion monthly users, and 680 of them are on mobile. 680 billion. 40% of 18 to 34-year-olds check their Facebook account when they wake up, and 28% check it before they even get out of bed. 1 million links are shared every 20 minutes, 2 million friend requests, and 3 million messages are sent. So with all this data, what we're trying to show is that we use Facebook all the time. Everyone all over the world uses Facebook, and because it's such an important part of our everyday lives and we use it every day, it's important to see the ethics of the company, how much they've gotten themselves in trouble in the past, and to see where they're headed for the future. So currently, trending news about Facebook, the consumers are convinced that Facebook has a standpoint on privacy, meaning that recent studies show that users are alert on the site but are not aware of all activities concerning privacy on Facebook. So they're aware about privacy, but they're not sure what Facebook has access to and stuff like that. Only 47.5% of all the people using Facebook are aware of privacy. So what that means is that less than half of the people aren't even aware about the privacy issues going on. And so Federal Trade Commission is one of the agencies that Facebook has been working with closely lately. For instance, a couple years ago, they started using the FTC to use facial recognition, which is where you can upload a photo and Facebook will recognize your face. And they worked with the FTC to make sure that that would be okay. So that's always to do with changing statutes and how the privacy is constantly evolving. So there'll also be Facebook will change their privacy policy next year, which is a huge part about where they're going to go in the future. But we're going to see how they got here and the lawsuits they had to go through. So we're going to start with the beginning of Facebook with Eduardo Saverin, who was the co-founder of Facebook at the beginning of the company. When Facebook was started up, he was diluted out of the company basically. He owned 30% of the stock and they diluted his shares down to 0.03%. And that's just an internal thing that Facebook tried to do and get away with. Eduardo Saverin ended up suing the company and is worth $2 billion currently. The Winklevoss twins is an ongoing dispute on whether or not Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook, stole the idea from the Winklevoss twins. They sued the company sued Mark Zuckerberg for copyright infringement, and there is an ongoing dispute on whether or not it is even relevant now, considering the fact that the Winklevoss twins have a social networking site called Connect.you, and Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook are completely two different things. So the legal issues that I'm going to focus on today is privacy and talking about the cases that went on, a case that went on in privacy, what Facebook has access to generally, and seeing what users are not aware that some stuff is not being shared that they have access to. And Facebook makes users' data a selling point, specifically data mining and advertising your profile to make them some money. And that's going to be demonstrated in Fraley versus Facebook Incorporated. So we're going to delve right into the first case here, which is the lawsuit over Beacon. And Beacon was a product developed by Facebook that allowed for the company to post users' private data publicly without consent from the user. Ultimately, Facebook was sued by many users, Lane representing them. Facebook ended up losing and terminating the program. And they created a $9.5 million fund for privacy to make sure that investors and users were safe and regain assurance in the company. An example of this is when a man bought a ring for his girlfriend on Overstock.com and was posted to Facebook for the entire public to see. Now this was without his consent, and that was the biggest issue, that Facebook just went ahead and posted it for him as if they were him. So that is what ended up going on right there. Another lawsuit, we're going to talk about data mining a little bit and advertising in Facebook without the user's permission, which is the Fraley versus Facebook case. Facebook utilized users' data to advertise to other users, use names and things that they liked without the permission from the user. And this is basically an example of a sponsored story that they were taking users' information. As you can see right here, Jessica Grodsky was advertised for the Starbucks by saying that she was there today, or referring that she liked Starbucks, and that was without her consent. They eventually reached a settlement that gave the users the ability to see what is appearing on sponsored stories, but this was an extremely important issue because Facebook was using data that was not given to them but was supposed to be private to advertise to other friends, for example, Jessica's friends. So now we're going to have an analysis of some of these cases. The first one we're going to talk about is a secondary source called the Facebook Frontier, and this is my opinion that I found through this article. So we're just going to delve right into this. So privacy should be a concept of control over one's personal data. So we should have complete control over what where our personal data is going and what can see, and that's currently just not the case, and you see that through the lawsuits. We should make the companies accountable for their actions, so we don't have to keep going to lawsuits and stuff like that, that they should become accountable for their actions for stealing our data without our permission. We should put users in charge of their privacy, which basically means that we should have complete control over what's going on. There should even be, this was an idea that was presented in the Facebook Frontier, which is a report abuse, which is when the company you think is taking your data or is doing something wrong, that agencies can check up and make sure that they're doing the right thing. And make privacy options more visible and user-friendly. And this is something that's going to be discussed later about where Facebook's going. So we're going to talk about also protecting our digital walls, which is another secondary source of law, and also my opinion thrown in here. So the source of law says that our privacy is like a house, and that the only stuff through the window is the stuff that everyone should see, and that Facebook should not be going through the window to take all of the other data that we have presented to them online. So there was also talk that Facebook has a potential to be used as a surveillance tool, which they could actually go in and take our stuff or even like fly above our private house, so to speak, and see what's going on all the time. So there should be a clear sense of consent from the user, and this includes the regulations and transparency between Facebook and the user. They've been in several violations with the Federal Trade Commission Act, and the FTC has been working closely to make sure that they stay within their boundaries. So how can this be done? Well, they have to make changes that pertain to all social networks. They have the FTC to put up guidelines, and agencies can overlook the data that is being used. This is what's concerning, however. Mark Zuckerberg is happy with how transparent things are right now. Users are willing to share their data without an option, he says. So he thinks that users are willing to keep everything public, and that's the way he likes it right there. There was a study in India that said that the majority of people are unaware of privacy settings. So Mark Zuckerberg isn't right on this and has to be given back to the people as far as privacy setting goes and what's readily available to the public. So Facebook's plan for the future, based off these cases, we need to put the users in control, and the FTC has been working closely with that. In current news, Facebook is changing their privacy policy after talking with the FTC, which is good to hear, and will actually improve users' assurance in the company. So in conclusion, Facebook must come up with a better system to make privacy policies more transparent. Lawsuits demonstrate that users are afraid of how Facebook uses their data, and the new privacy policy should put users in charge. And that's all we can hope for, is that with this new privacy policy that's being put into place through the FTC after looking at all these lawsuits, that the user will be put in charge, and that privacy policies will become more transparent between the user and Facebook. Let's just hope Mark Zuckerberg agrees.